This episode of the Feed Podcast is brought to you by the Chicago French Market. The market offers fresh ingredients for cooking at home, delicious grab-and-go options for any meal of the day, or even a simple picnic or office party.
The Chicago French Market, a taste of Europe in the heart of the Midwest.
You're listening to the Feed Podcast. To get your weekly fix, subscribe to us on iTunes or visit our website, thefeedpodcast.com.
So every restaurant that opens in America, doesn't matter what time of year, they all seem to have either fried or roasted Brussels sprouts on the menu. I'm going to ask the chef here. I'm guessing it's because it's economical.
No, it's because, you haven't had them, and all of a sudden in the fall, you see them and you want to have them. And, it's a really great thing. I grew up hating Brussels sprouts, and once I tasted my first roasted Brussels sprout, I thought, man, this stuff is so good. And then I started tasting in other people's restaurants just the leaves that were fried or roasted, and they have some char on them, started grilling them. I mean, there's just so much that you can do with them. And because the leaf is small, you can get flavor to it in a way that you can't get to, say, its cousin cabbage.
Right, because it's so tight. I mean, a lot of times I'll see them shave it on a mandolin because nothing really gets in there, right?
Right, nothing, well, exactly. Because you got this little teeny tiny head of cabbage, and you're trying to penetrate it. So sometimes people will make a slaw out of it, or they will they will saute the shredded Brussels sprouts. But I have to say, the flavor of them is so much sweeter to me than just cabbage that I fell in love with them after hating the steamed Brussels sprouts I was force-fed as a child.
Oh, we all were. Those are the worst.
They're awful.
We had like the Green Giant with Brussels sprouts as a kid.
You know what? You're sending shivers down my spine right now, okay?
But I've seen them fried or roasted with, and then I'll toss them with gochujang, which I just love. Because
that is amazing. Yes, absolutely. Well, there's a lot of stuff we can do with Brussels sprouts.
And I'm going to see two versions today, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I see two mandolins sitting here on the table. Okay, so coming up on today's show, a Brussels sprouts challenge with the chef and owner of Daisies here in Chicago, as both he and I attempt to come up with an easy weeknight meal in 15 minutes or less using just Brussels sprouts plus 5 other ingredients that you can pretty much find anywhere. Stay with us. Not all sprouts are created equal.
This is the Feed Podcast. I'm Steve Dolinsky, a food and travel reporter at ABC 7 News, the Chicago Tribune, and Canada's Globe and Mail.
And I'm Rick Bayless, the chef and owner of Chicago's Frontera Grill, Topolobampo, Choco Leña Brava, and host of public television's Mexico, One Plate at a Time.
And every week, the Feed takes a deep dive into the world of professional chefs, restaurateurs, food artisans, and drink experts, sharing their stories and uncovering their passion for food and drink. But that's not all. Rick and I are always traveling the globe for our jobs, eating, drinking, and immersing ourselves in the local culture. And if we find something exciting along the way, there's a good chance it's going to find its way here to our James Beard Award-winning podcast. One of the restaurants a lot of us in the food business here in Chicago have been talking about lately is Daisies, led by Chef Joe Frillman. The restaurant has its own farm in the northwestern suburbs, and the restaurant seems to take a very Midwestern approach to its pasta-heavy menu. Joining us today to explain what that means is Chef Joe Frillman. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
It's great to have you here in the kitchen.
I really appreciate it.
So I want to know what your background a little bit. How'd you get to Daisies?
Started cooking when I was about 22, 23, taking it really seriously. Been working in restaurants since I was 17 in the front of the house, bar backing, etc. Met a guy named Chris Pandell. He's down in Swift & Sons right now, and Balena. I met him out at Osteria di Tremonto for Rick Tremonto was opening up his mega...
That was a mega production out in Wheeling.
It was. It was a mega, 4 restaurants in one. Chris was in charge of all of them. I actually met his girlfriend at the time, who was Lindsay Payne, which is now Lindsay Pandell, is his wife. She introduced me to Chris, and from that point on, I went on to help open the Bristol, went on to open Balena, was the chef de cuisine there is when I left.
So really, it sounds like working with a lot of local farmers.
With a lot,
Balena,
yes.
And certainly in Bristol.
100%. We got introduced to Spence Farm, which I know Chef Rick knows very well. Marty was a very inspirational individual for myself. He's the one who actually kind of had us the inspiration for my brother. We grew up on 8 acres of farmland that was rented out. And in 2012, I had the idea, hey, would you be interested in basically taking the farmland back from the people we were renting it to and turning it into a sustainable organic farm? A lot of that had to do with Spence Farm and the interactions that we had with them. It's
So
primarily
you're farming that now, right?
we are. It is
I heard your brother.
It is my little brother, Tim Frillman. His twin sister, Carrie, she does all the art in the restaurant, so it's a very family affair for us.
So how does that work? You tell him what you need. He says, well, this is all we've got right now. You create a menu around it. And tell me about Daisies a bit, because it is pasta heavy, but also with a very Midwestern accent.
It is. It works as best we can when you work with your siblings. It's definitely throws us a totally different dynamic than working with a traditional farmer, where we're looking to, every year at the end of the year, we kind of sit down and go through what we think we're going to put on the menu. But what a lot of times is, he doesn't only exclusively deliver to us. He goes to other restaurants. He actually got one of the Frontera Foundation grants, which helped him with his egg production, which helped with the hydroponics, which he's trying to grow right now. And being in the Midwest, seeing that it's winter 9 months out of the year here, we're doing everything we possibly can to utilize everything that he has. So when there's a bumper crop of something, we have a fermentation program. We are HACCP certified by the city, where we can then take and if he's got a bumper crop of, say, turnips, right now we're doing a ton of turnip kraut that we're going to have for the rest of the year. So things that he might not be able to sell to other farmers, to other restaurants, we're taking that on, and it helps our bottom line because we get it usually for a cheaper price. But it also helps the farmer because they're getting paid for product that might otherwise go in a compost.
I think what a lot of people don't realize in farm to table in the Midwest is that the farmers have to be incredibly resourceful to figure out different ways that they can either extend seasons or make value added, something like your turnip kraut that you were talking about, so that they can be a sustainable business 12 months of the year.
It really is. It's thrown, we don't get everything from him. It's an 8-acre farm. At this point, it's really hard to do. There's a goal down the line of possibly getting to a point where we can do that. He's only 5 years old. We're definitely learning to get to that point, but we typically go to him saying, what do you have? As opposed to what can you grow us? Because not everything grows here. A lot of times you'll see cartoons. It's a crazy thing because when you go to culinary school, they tell you to go to your resources and tell them what you want. And here, if you're going to really be farm to table, you have to go to the farmers and say, what do you have? And we'll create a menu out of that. We really do. And it makes, it's allowed for a lot of creative things. Creativity comes out of that for us.
Absolutely.
I want to know about the menu. For folks who've
Sure.
been to Daisies, it's up in Logan Square,
Sure.
about 15 minutes northwest of the downtown. Give us a sense for what's on the menu.
It's kind of food that I was inspired by growing up in the north suburbs of Chicago, a heavy Jewish community. You'll see things, there's lots of beets coming up right now. There's things like latkes with sunchokes and potatoes that we're working on. But things that are from the region as well. I have an Italian background, and Italian philosophy is what Chris Pandel's always instilled in me, which is use what's in season, what's around you, and a lot of peasant food, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so what we were inspired by the region of what the Midwest is and what's, the culinary history of what's been here. We even go to, the region of Wisconsin, if you will, and look for things the products that they have. For Parmesan, we don't always use Parmigiano Reggiano. Sometimes we use Cervecchio, which is made in the style of Parmigiano Reggiano, but it comes from Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. On our menu, we have fried cheese curds and mushrooms because that's been around here forever.
I noticed that when I ate there the other day.
Yeah,
I would think of like German and Scandinavian as well in the Midwest.
Absolutely, and I'm a Polish descent, Polish, Russian, German. You'll see a lot of that influence on our menu as well. There's pierogies on the menu.
But not just any pierogi.
They're not just any pierogies. We try to keep everything as much as we can from the Midwest. This is one that strays to actually the coast, and we have potato pierogies with clams, something you don't see all the time. That's pretty much the only seafood that we'll have on the menu. Everything else is kind of lake fish or things that we can get from around here, because the region has so much products. In the wintertime especially, you find so many vegetables that it's creates a box that you have to work in.
Right. And be creative.
And be creative with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Joe has accepted our challenge this week using Brussels sprouts as the main ingredient. He's getting set up in our test kitchen right now, and when we come back, we'll both attempt to make an easy weeknight meal in 15 minutes or less. Stay with us.
Have a beef with something you heard? Looking for a little extra side dish? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at The Feed Podcast.
Commuters have known this for some time, but over in the West Loop at the Ogilvy Transportation Center, there are more than 30 specialty vendors just waiting to feed you inside the Chicago French Market.
The market offers fresh ingredients for cooking at home, delicious grab-and-go options for any meal of the day, or even a simple picnic or office party.
Sean Mulroney with Santulo's Pizza. We're a New York slice pizza place. We do 4 pizzas every day, our standard pizza, and then we do a special each day. We also do Italian beef, some other sandwiches, and it's gosh darn good.
Have you seen the lines, by the way, over at the Aloha Poke over there? And there's like the Aloha Poke, there's a line, and then there's Fumare Meats, and then there's, well, as you just heard the vendor, I mean, there's so much going on right now in that market. There's quite a lot to eat.
That's very exciting. I got to go over there and have some poke.
They've got 2 entrances, 131 North Clinton and 118 North Canal. And how about this? Covered parking is free for an hour with a $20 purchase.
Wow, that's great. They're open Monday to Saturday. You can also grab a bite and surf the internet since Wi-Fi is free. The Chicago French Market, a taste of Europe in the heart of the Midwest.
See photos, get links to previous stories, or just let us know what you think. Contact us on our website, thefeedpodcast.com.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We're up in Frontera's test kitchen today with Joe Frillman from Daisies in Chicago, and the challenge today is Brussels sprouts. Rick's going to explain how the challenge works and how much time you'll have.
You have 15 minutes to finish the dish, but excluding the Brussels sprouts, you have 5 different ingredients that you can incorporate into the dish. We don't count salt, pepper, oil, some basic staples.
Excellent.
All right, so you ready? Matt's going to set our clock here, and we begin now. Okay, so Joe, what are your 5 extras you brought?
Today, so we've got the Brussels that were included. I've got some local pecans, as well as red grapes. They're going to add a little sweetness, but also a little bit of tannin to them. Red onion for a little bit of the bite, which we're going to slice up right now.
And
also, Parmesan Reggiano, I believe, is the 5th.
Okay, and what is your plan? What's your game plan with this?
So, Daisies, we do a lot of vegetable-inspired dishes. It's not a vegetarian restaurant by any means, but we definitely focus on as many vegetables as we can with the farm. We are going to have a vegetarian salad, if you will. So we're going to shave the Brussels sprouts nice and thin and brown up some butter. Sorry, that's one of the ingredients as well. Brown butter that we deglaze with some sherry vinegar, black pepper, the red grapes for a little bit of sweetness.
Okay, well, you know what? The butter we don't count. The sherry vinegar will count as number 5. Rick, what is your plan here? You're tearing up a chicken, it looks like.
Right, it is. I'm going to make this kind of Brussels sprout slaw, I think, with roasted chicken. I got a rotisserie chicken, so that's going to go in there. And then I'm going to make these little, I'm going to call them Brussels sprout chicken salad tacos.
Interesting. Okay, and this is just a chicken you bought at the store.
That's right. Just like in pretty much any grocery store you go into, you can find a rotisserie chicken. And I think when you're cooking quickly, it's a great ingredient to rely on.
Okay, so we need to talk about the benreiner here. This is also known as the Japanese mandolin. They're both green. Interestingly, mine is not. Mine's like an off-white manila at home. But this is a great under $30 purchase. Why do you guys like them?
Inexpensive, light. Mobile for when we're traveling, doing things like this. But they stay super sharp. And the fact that The blade is removable, so you can sharpen that, but it's around $30, I think, is what.
And I'm going to guess because they stay so sharp, we all know that you've got to be really careful when you're when you're shaving on here, because you can lose a fingertip.
Okay, so you can go to the grocery store. You can go to one of the cookware stores, and you can find a much more expensive mandolin than this. And they'll have a guard on them. These do not come with a guard, so you have to be really careful when you're working with them.
Okay, Joe is already looks like you've sliced up some of your Brussels sprouts with the mandolin, yeah?
I have, and once those we set aside in the bowl, they get really finely shredded, almost like a fine sauerkraut, if you will. Before the sauerkraut, I should say.
And Rick is chopping up this chicken skin separate from the chicken.
I always say to make sure on the rotisserie chicken that you're using the skin because it's super delicious.
Okay, Joe, what are you doing now? You've got some red onions in a strainer. I've lost the word in my mind. It's a strainer over a bowl.
So the red onion, especially depending on when they're how old they are, a lot of times they carry too much bite to them. So basically we just slice them lengthwise so that they're nice and thin, and just adding a little bit of salt in a colander set over a bowl will draw some of that raw onion juice, if you will, out of that. And for about 10 minutes, right at the last second, we'll give it a rinse, and so you don't get that stinky onion breath after you're done with the dish. It's a nice accent to it without overpowering maybe if you have a date that night.
Okay, and Rick has just pulled off the outer leaves of some of the big Brussels sprouts, and you're working over a glass bowl with your mandolin.
That's all I'm doing. I just want to shave them like you would for a slaw, like you would think about cabbage for a slaw.
Now, I have a question. We're only, the rule is typically you plate for one, because we're going to taste out of one plate. How many Brussels sprouts do you think you're going to need to go through for your dish?
I'm going to do, I would say, a couple of Brussels sprouts per person. If they're smaller, you'll probably want to do 3 or 4.
All right. Joe's got a pan heating up on the stove over there. What are you going to be doing with the hot pan?
It's just to toast some of the pecans real fast that we had. We want to make sure, just to get them to the point where the oil is coming out. They're a little bit shiny, and the fragrance of the pecan should come out. Just a couple seconds.
Because really, once you smell the aroma, you're done heating. You don't want to burn them, right?
Correct. We're not looking to get any color on these. We're just looking to get the essential oils that come out if they sit on the shelves.
You've actually taken the pan off of the direct heat, so it's hot enough. You don't want to overdo it,
It was hot enough. I had the pan going a little too much here. I'm taking it off just to make sure that I don't burn that right now.
Okay. Now you've got some red grapes?
We do. Red grapes, we're just going to slice a cross section, so we want to get them maybe 1/8 of an inch thick.
We're a third of the way through, by the way, guys. 10 minutes to go.
Just to mimic the thickness of what the Brussels sprouts that we just shaved.
Everything about the same size.
Yes.
Okay. Rick continues to work the benriner.
I'm done with it now.
A lot of sprouts.
So
All right.
Put that aside, and now I'm going to make my little slaw. And I'm use any kind of mayonnaise for this, but I'm going to use the mayonnaise that you buy in the Mexican grocery store because
Mayonesa.
and because it's made with lime juice, and I want that lime character in this. So I'm going to put in just enough to coat the amount of Brussels sprouts that I have here. And then my flavoring for this is going to be pickled jalapenos. So when I'm looking to work quickly and to find an ingredient that's multi-purpose for me, I will oftentimes grab a can of pickled jalapenos. And the reason is that it not only has the chilies, but it also has pickled carrots and onions in the same jar or can. So that's what I'm going to chop up some of the onions and the carrots that are in there.
Are you a brand loyal here? These are La Preferida, but does it matter?
Some of them are better than others, and I always suggest to people that they look for the ones that are in the jars, so that they can see if the chilies are whole and nice looking and how many vegetables are in that jar. These come in a can, but I just know this brand so well.
So the nice thing about that mayonesa, with the lime in it, you don't have to use lime as another ingredient either, right? Because you could have used fresh lime.
Exactly. But I ran out of ingredients, so I thought, why don't we use that special kind of mayonnaise?
Okay, so the mayo and the pickled jalapeno that you sliced up with the pickled carrot, now into that slaw with the Brussels sprouts, and we've got about 8 minutes to go. Okay, so we're coming up on halfway through.
Yeah.
And now Joe has taken those pecans off the stove. and you sliced up the grapes, and now you got some cheese, it looks like?
We are going to peel some of the Parmesan Reggiano. Make sure you take when you're doing, if you get it in the store, take the rind off before you peel, or just don't peel the rind. You hold that side of it. And just take a peeler.
Can you use that rind for something else? Like, could you make stock and throw it into a pot or something?
We do. We actually make parm stock, especially at the restaurants. We have a tortellini dish where we use the Parmesan rinds and the Cervecchio rinds to make as a base for the broth.
Yeah, no waste.
No waste.
So you're grating this now into a container, big, long, ribbons.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you basically use any peeler that you would from the kitchen, and just go lengthwise along the cheese, a little firm so that you get a little thickness and texture to that.
Rick has mixed up his slaw. He's now pulling out some cilantro that was wrapped in paper towels.
Well, I like to keep the cilantro fresh by wrapping it in damp paper towels or a damp towel.
In a sealed plastic bag that has all the air pushed out of it?
No, I don't usually do that. I don't go that far. Usually I put it in a plastic bag, but I don't seal it.
All right.
There's all different kinds of ways to store it. But since I cook on the weekends at my house, I want stuff to get as long a life as possible. And I find that a very lightly damp towel or paper towels as a way to wrap up my cilantro, I spread it all out on the towel and then sort of roll it up jelly roll style, and that'll keep for several weeks in the refrigerator.
All right, so you're adding this chopped cilantro onto the slaw. Joe is now chopping up those toasted pecans over on his cutting board. We've got about how long do we go? 6 minutes to go.
6 minutes.
You feeling okay, Joe? You all right?
I am feeling great. Well, the last thing we're going to do here, as soon as we get these pecans kind of chopped up, is we're going to make the brown butter vinaigrettes. The pan is getting warm.
I just saw Rick add a little bit of the juice from those canned jalapenos because you must have tasted the slaw and you needed a little bit more bite.
Yes, I just wanted to add a little bit more vinegar or tanginess to it, because I'm going to put the chicken, the rotisserie chicken, in there and make a chicken salad out of it, so a Brussels sprout chicken salad. But I want it to have enough of that tanginess that when you wrap it in a warm corn tortilla, it'll be super delicious.
Okay. So, Joe, and you're still in your red onions hang out, yeah?
We are. As of right now, that'll probably be one of the last things we do, just because typically we'll let them sit for about a half an hour. With the 15-minute window, I want to give them as long as they possibly can to get the most of that juice out of there.
Just under 5 to go. So we're 2/3 of the way through now. 5 minutes to go in our little challenge here. Joe is now heating up the same pan, obviously.
Same pan from the pecans.
Yeah, one pan dish here.
I am not a fan of the washing dishes. I did that for a long time.
Okay, now
what
are you going to add here? Butter.
Butter. So this
don't count butter, so this doesn't count towards your 5.
This doesn't count towards
No, but the sherry vinegar does. So.
Man. All right, well, there you go, trade-off. This is about 2 tablespoons of butter, pan that's moderately hot. And you're just looking for, you hear that sizzle, you're looking to brown the milk solids in the butter.
You got to keep an eye on it and really make sure you don't burn it, but you want to get it to that brown stage where it's kind of nutty.
For sure. You're looking also, a trick that a lot of will get you in trouble. If you don't try to use a stainless steel or an aluminum pan so that it doesn't, you're not looking for a dark pan where you can't see the browning of the butter, which I have here.
4 minutes to go. Rick was just using the tweezers that God gave him as he was mixing up his slaw.
Well, I think when you are mixing something, that you want to make sure that all of the ingredients get really well coated. I use my fingers.
Yeah, not a tong.
No. I mean, you can sort of see it, but your fingertips will tell you a whole lot more.
Yep. Okay, Joe's working on browning his butter over there. We got under 4 minutes to go here. I will warn you, Joe, the last 3 minutes goes fast. So I'm just giving you a little bit of advice.
I appreciate
FYI, because Rick is almost done. He's going to I'll heat up his corn tortillas, and he's going to be good to go. These are a special kind here you've got. Are these from Chicago? Milagro?
These are from Chicago, yes. This is an El Milagro tortilla. And I like, there's so many different flavors of tortilla that are made in Chicago. I really love a lot of different ones, but these have a very distinctive flavor, and a lot of people in Chicago like it. So I'm taking a dozen tortillas and I'm wrapping them in a very lightly dampened paper towel, putting it in a bag, folding it over, and I'm going to heat those in a microwave for 1 minute.
Yeah, this is a good Rick trick that I've learned over the years working with him. Not just the chipotles and adobo, but this wrapping the tortillas in the damp cloth, put them in the plastic bag, then in the microwave. That is a great way to bring them back to life, keep them warm. And now we're under 3 to go. And so I see in a stainless bowl at Joe's workstation there. I can't see your clock, Matt. It's about 2.5. Okay. He's got the shaved Brussels sprouts. He's got the chopped pecans in there. He's now adding some sherry vinegar with a fancy squeeze bottle into his skillet with the brown butter. And you're doing that because
It's going to stop the cooking of the butter. And before you see this nice brown color we have. And it's essentially just making the pan vinaigrette. But it's going to stop that cooking of the butter so that we're not going to burn it.
2 minutes to go.
Thank you.
This is the speedy point here. 2 minutes to go. Okay, so Rick's got his slaw set to go. He's got about 5 seconds to go on his tortillas that are in the microwave. Joe's going to do a little quick taste of his sherry and butter, and he's nodding his head yes, so that looks like it's okay. He's pulling it off the heat now, and it's going to go, looks like, into this bowl again with the shaved Brussels sprouts and the toasted chopped pecans, and we've got 1.5 minutes to go now. Rick is now taking out one more jalapeno from the can, and he's chopping that up.
Well, I just decided it wasn't quite spicy enough. You'll have to tell me if you like it this spicy, but I decided to take another pickled jalapeno and slice it crosswise, and I'm going to use that as a garnish for the little tacos. After the tortillas come out of the microwave, it's usually best to let them sit for about a minute to absorb the steam that has been created by that damp paper towel. And now I'm going to lay a couple of them here and make a couple of tacos for us.
Just under a minute to go, 50 seconds now. Joe's finally removing his red onions. He's rinsing them under some water to get that salt off of there. They've been sitting literally with the salt for probably most of the 15 minutes because he salted them early. So those are now rinsed, and they're coming back to his workstation. He's got the brown butter sherry into that little slaw. He's now adding some of those sliced red grapes, and Rick is plating his Brussels sprout chicken salad on top of his 2 tortillas. Joe's got his plate here. 20 seconds to go. How's it going?
We are going to make it, hopefully.
We're going to make it, hopefully. All right.
Parmigiano Reggiano's going in right now.
Reggiano, okay. Reggiano going into that salad last second. That's your saltiness, obviously.
That sounds so good. I haven't been able to watch anything because I've been busy over here.
You've been focused. Yeah, I've been focused. And your garnish was just a couple of more sliced jalapenos and some fresh cilantro, and you're done. We got about 5 seconds to go. Joe plating his salad, and he is done. Gentlemen, well done. Right down to the wire. I like that.
Down to the wire.
Way to keep it exciting. All right. We're going to take some pictures. Obviously, we're at the Feed Podcast on our Facebook and Instagram, so we're going to post some pictures on our website as well. When we come back, we will taste what Joe Frillman and Rick have made for us, and we're going to preview some scenes from next week's show, so stay with us.
Arrive at the meal late? Check out previous episodes, get recipes from ingredient challenges, and see behind-the-scenes pictures at thefeedpodcast.com.
Commuters have known this for some time, but over in the West Loop at the Ogilvy Transportation Center, there are more than 30 specialty vendors just waiting to feed you inside the Chicago French Market.
The market offers fresh ingredients for cooking at home, delicious grab-and-go options for any meal of the day, or even a simple picnic or office party.
My name is Sarah. We are making sushi. First time maybe you can have cooked sushi, tempura shrimp with some vegetables and avocado, asparagus, cucumber or cream cheese. And first trial, let that be good. And few different salad, seaweed salad, squid salad, and edamame hat. And also we serve with many different kind of Japanese drink. Yeah.
Have you seen the lines, by the way, over at the Aloha Poke over there? And there's like the Aloha Poke, there's a line, and then there's Fumare Meats, and then there's, well, as you just heard the vendor, I mean, there's so much going on right now in that market. There's quite a lot to eat.
That's very exciting. I got to go over there and have some poke.
They've got 2 entrances, 131 North Clinton and 118 North Canal. And how about this? Covered parking is free for an hour with a $20 purchase.
Wow, that's great. They're open Monday to Saturday. You can also grab a bite and surf the internet since Wi-Fi is free. The Chicago French Market, a taste of Europe in the heart of the Midwest.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We're up in the Frontera Test Kitchen today, along with Joe Frillman, the chef at Daisies here in Chicago. The challenge today, how do you come up with something using Brussels sprouts as the star, plus 5 other easy-to-find ingredients, and get a main dish on the table in 15 minutes or less? Both guys went right down to the wire this time. We were at like 14:55, I think, so that was pretty close.
Oh, but that's what makes it exciting.
So exciting, but certainly these are both doable. We're going to start with our guest. Tell us again, what would you call this dish, Joe?
It's raw shaved Brussels sprout salad, brown butter vinaigrette with red grapes, pecans, and a little bit of Parmesan Reggiano.
And when you have this 15-minute limit, what do you think was the tough part? The waiting for the red onions or doing the brown butter with the sherry?
The brown butter with the sherry, you got to time it right as well, but waiting for those red onions at the last second, so to do both of those things, get on the plate.
Oh, man, that is so delicious. The thing that hit me right away was the brown butter in the vinaigrette. It makes it so utterly delicious. And then the Parmesan, and then the sweetness of the grapes, and then the crunch of the toasted pecans. It's really delicious.
Yeah, the pecans are key because you got the crunchy, the little texture in there, but there's that echoes the nuttiness from the nuttiness in the brown butter, which I think is really cool.
And the nuttiness of the Parmesan Reggiano that you're going to get from that as well. So you have 3 similar flavors, but they kind of build on each other with the Brussels sprouts.
It's a perfect wintry salad, I think.
It really is. It's got a lot of texture. Yeah. It's just got a lot of flavor. I think that cheese, you've got to use a high-quality Parmesan Reggiano.
You really do.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Rick has made, these are sort of tacos with a chicken salad, Brussels sprout chicken salad inside.
They are. So most people don't think of a chicken salad taco as being anything that would be acceptable in Mexico, but actually if you go to the Yucatan Peninsula, that is not the case. They make salad tacos all the time. Cool ingredients that go into the center, and then a warm tortilla on the outside. Did I make it too spicy?
Okay, I'm still chewing.
Good. I'm sorry to ask you that question with the mouthful, but I wanted the creaminess of the mayo, the spiciness of the pickled jalapenos, of course the meatiness of the rotisserie chicken. But I like that sweetness that the Brussels sprout slaw gives you up and above what you would get out of a cabbage slaw.
I like that you put a little extra sliced jalapeno on top. I think it needs it. Otherwise, it might have been too creamy and maybe not enough of a bite. I think I'm glad. And you also added a little bit more of the juice.
Right. To make it a little bit. Now I've got my mouth full.
Yeah, sorry. But it does. You're right. The creaminess is delicious, but it's a nice winter taco. I would have never imagined making a chicken salad like this in a taco. I mean, I could just eat the chicken salad. Right, with some toast or something.
But it's so good with a corn tortilla.
That's really good.
When you're thinking you're going to just have a simple salad for dinner, think about making it a salad taco.
But I would griddle some really good sourdough, and I'd make a little chicken salad sandwich too.
It would work fine in that.
Midwest Mexican, yeah?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Joe Frillman, again, from Daisies. Go see him over in Logan Square. He's up on Milwaukee Avenue. He'll make you some pasta and maybe some Brussels sprouts, too. Joe, thanks so much.
Thank you so much for coming and cooking with me.
I appreciate it.
All right. Coming up next week, a closer look at how chefs create excitement before anything is even cooked.
I like to use a kind of a combination of descriptors that will, I guess, evoke a expectation for the guests, as well as stuff that maybe they aren't familiar with.
We'll talk about the art of crafting a menu. That's next week on the show.
Remember, you can always contact us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter at The Feed Podcast. Or check out our ingredient challenges, get recipes, and other information about previous shows by simply visiting our website, thefeedpodcast.com. And don't forget to subscribe and rate the show on iTunes. Be sure to follow me at Rick_Bayless.
And I am at Steve Dolinsky. More information about both Joe and Rick's recipes using Brussels sprouts on our website as well. I produced today's show along with Linnea Dominic. She's our intern. Max Dolinsky supervised today's music. Bureaucratic wrote and performed our theme song. And the Feed Podcast is edited by Matt Cunningham at Truthful Enthusiasm. Whether you're an individual or institution, get your story online with truthfulenthusiasm.com. Thanks for listening, everybody.